So I cross-threaded the spark plug. Let's see if we can fix it. So what happened was I was going to go change my spark plugs, and I was in a hurry and was not being as careful as I should have been. And this spark plug right here got cross-threaded. The problem was because I didn't remove this wiring harness all the way, and so my socket extension went in at an angle, and I inadvertently cross-threaded it. Now I think I've got the spark plug reseated back into the correct threads, but it misses every once in a while, especially under load. It runs good 90% of the time, but if you really hammer down and give it some load, it does miss a little bit. So I think there's probably some improving we can do there. I'm going to replace all of the spark plugs because there's a good chance the threads on that spark plug are bad too, if it got cross-threaded, and that can be part of the problem. And I'm going to run a thread chaser through the spark plug hole to see if we can clean it up a little bit, and I'll show you how to do that. So hopefully not too much damage, nothing permanent, nothing that we can't clean up a little bit, and then we will hopefully fix this mistake. So the first thing I'm going to do, which I should have done the first time, is I'm going to remove that big wiring harness right there and get it out of the way so I've got plenty of room to work. Alright, so let's go ahead and get that old spark plug out of there. So what I'm doing is I'm dropping down the spark plug socket on the shortest extension I have that will still reach, because we don't want a super long one that's going to give us too much torque or a bad angle on that spark plug. That's how this happens in the first place. So this is a 6-inch socket extension. That's the shortest one that will still fit and give me the necessary clearance. So I'm going to come in here and loosen it with my ratchet. Making sure to keep the socket extension straight as possible the whole time. So I got the spark plug out, and the damage does not look good. It felt really rough coming out, and a lot of this is damage to the spark plug threads, and I'm hoping that's where most of the damage remains. But we'll see. This doesn't bode well. So I'm going to use this thread chaser here, and what this is going to do is it's going to go in and clean up those threads. It's kind of like a tap where it's got these sharp threads on it with these cutting edges, but it's not quite as sharp as a tap. It's not going to cut new threads, hopefully. It's not designed to. It's just going to go in there and clean out all that gunk. And what we're going to do is we're going to lube this up with a bunch of grease, and that's going to catch any kind of metal debris or shavings that come off with it as we run it down in there. And that's going to clean up those threads and allow us to get a new spark plug down in there. So we're just going to take some grease, put it on this just to kind of catch any debris that might come out with the with this as we pull it out. This will kind of capture all the shavings and stuff that we don't want going down into our engine. Alright, I'm going to put this on the end of an extension and then carefully run it down. So I picked up this bore scope from AutoZone, and you can get it part of their free Loan-A-Tool program. And I'm going to use it to inspect the spark plug bores of the cylinders, since I was having trouble with that one earlier. This one looks really good. So I'm going to set this into the cylinder head, and then I'm going to use the bore scope to go down in there and look to see how well aligned I am. Now I'm just going to start turning this by hand. And then I'm going to back it out a little bit and just go back and forth. So it's not super easy to tell, but it looks like I'm in there pretty straight. And I'm able to tighten it and back it out by hand a good amount, and then it starts to catch. So I think I'm probably in the correct threads. So this is the do or die moment. I'm going to go ahead and grab my ratchet and just kind of push it through very carefully, and hopefully we'll clean up those threads. Okay, so I was actually able to run that thread chaser down by hand the entire way, which is really good. That's a good sign for the threads in there, and it also means I'm not applying very much torque, which means I'm not accidentally going to cut incorrect threads. I'm going to run the thread chaser down and back a few more times with some fresh grease just to see if I can get any extra gunk out of there, and then I think we're ready to put the new spark plug back in and pray it works. So I just bottomed it out, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it back out. I've run it back and forth a few times to try and clear out any metal shavings or anything. So we'll back it out and we'll take a look. I'm feeling pretty good about it since I was able to run it down by hand the whole way. That's a good sign. So you can see a little bit of gunk there captured by the grease, not a whole lot. So that makes me feel very good. And like I said, I was able to run this down all the way by hand before it bottomed out. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. It makes me happy. So just like with the thread chaser, we're going to run this spark plug in all the way by hand. You do not want to use a ratchet, or definitely not power tools for this. You just want to run this in by hand. If you can't get the spark plug socket down there, you can take a length of 5/16 tubing, and that'll fit over the head of the spark plug, and you can run it down that way and get your socket in there. So I have bottomed it out. I've run it in by hand all the way. I'm going to give it a quarter turn to snug it up, and that's it. That's all you want to do. Do not over torque these things. There is a torque spec, and I will put that on the screen below. Once I get all these in, I'm going to torque them down properly. This is it. tighten that stud down.